On this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast, we want to bring back bric-a-brac.
Starting with Rowena's new line of hamster jewelry. Let's do this.
Welcome to this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast. I'm Diana.
I'm Liz.
And we're going to talk season 10, episode 16, Paint It Black.
Every time it's going to get stuck in my head. And it's not even the song. It's just the fucking like that little annoying guitar riff.
Yeah.
That every time I hear the words, just
Really?
That's what goes off in my head.
I do like the song, so it doesn't really, I haven't had that though, so this one, I don't know why.
Yeah, it's not the whole song. It's just pretty much that riff.
One riff. That's annoying.
Meow, 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 meow. And it's like, it's like cats. It is cats. Meow, 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 meow. Sadly, the show was not about cats or cake. AI is still trying to figure that one out again. So, yeah, what have you been up to?
I've gotten to see the wonderful Tanya Tucker. I can't even say it right. I saw Tanya Tucker, and she was puts on a fucking great show, in my humble opinion, along with a Texas artist named Angel White. It was open for her. Super fun. Had a little girls' night to do that, and did some family hangs and some car club hangs, and that's my excitement right now.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah. How about you?
Well, I would say I have had family hangs, but by family hangs, I mean I've been at my family's house cleaning out crap. And so, but I got my spring cleaning done before it got too hot. It was 92 fucking degrees today. Like, I was like, oh, the cold front, like it'll be 92 fucking degrees. So I got that done, and I got part of my dental implant opened. So what this means, our dear listeners, is when you get dental implants, there's a lot of shit they don't tell you about. I know I've talked about my teeth a lot on the show before, but so
it's been a while though.
It's been a while since I've had one. So with this one, after they jam a screw into your mouth, they let that heal. Then they go back and they cut it open. And so then it has to heal again. Well, the dental office where I go to, I went to because they do everything. So I knew I was going to need dental surgery. So I went to a place that had all the stuff, but the dental surgeon's schedule is limited. And so they shove a bunch of clients into one day, so they try to make things as fast as possible. They are also a singing office, and by singing office, I mean every member of that staff takes great delight in singing along to whatever contemporary classic rock song is playing on their mixes, and they tend to be pretty 90s 2000 focused. Time before last, it was Blink-182. This time I got Cranberry Zombie sung into my mouth. And because they were so fast, this is what happened. So Doc comes in. Hey, how you doing? Long time. Oh, your x-ray looks fine. Here's some topical gel. Da-da-da-da. Oh, okay. Did that set? No, he didn't ask me that. He just shoved some topical gel in there, then took his giant fucking ass plunger full of Novocaine, and then just started thrusting it into my fucking gums. And like, I was sitting there, like tears are coming down my face, and they're like, are you doing okay? And like, they're not actually asking you. I'm just like, oh. Like, what, how would you even know? Because you also have like that, they put like a clamp
spacer
thing in your
to hold your mouth
in your
open.
mouth. So you can't like, and I'm trying not to throw up because I have a really bad, gag reflex, but also just my stomach's not great right now. So like I throw up all the time. And so I'm trying not to puke while like this guy's hand is in my mouth and he's like doing just like jamming things in there and singing Zombie. Like, I don't want to be crying while, like, you're cutting open my mouth while some man is going zombie, like, over my face.
I have a question about the singing, and I have to ask.
Yeah.
So, is it like part of their sales pitch? Like we sing while we grind your teeth? They just happen to.
No, it's not a gimmick. It's not the singing dentist office.
It just happens to be the case.
That's just their jam. That's their vibe. That's what they.
I would appreciate it more if it was a shtick. I'd also be like, why the fuck did you book this place? But I also,
I appreciate the energy, right? It keeps like everybody is
distracted and high energy.
They're like in it, and it's almost like, the TV shows where like the surgeon's in there and they got the music and they've got their like,
you're in zoned.
But at the same time, it was just like, but you should be fine. Like he just like rinsed your mouth out with some salt water and left and just like went to like another patient. He was already on to the next patient, and then I had to go get x-rays done. And then like he didn't even have time to leave that patient to look at my x-ray. The assistant took a picture of my x-ray with his phone and walked his phone back to show the doctor what my x-ray looked like.
Fun.
Yeah, I also told him that my x-ray looked perfect and like it was okay to leave, but he didn't listen to me. I was like, it looked great.
No, he didn't listen to you?
Yeah, apparently that word wasn't good enough. I'm like, I don't know what where that doctor would just go either, so... I'm sure he's very good at what he does, but sometimes slow down, motherfucker.
Yeah, I don't also, if anybody's doing something in my mouth like that and you're using the word thrust, I'm not into that.
Typically, yeah. I mean, my last dental office, it would be topical sits for like a minute, and then like they'll do like a test one. They go, can you feel this? Right? And they ask and they make sure, like, did it start working? Not just swipe, boom.
And check if you can actually, like, reply to them. That's key, too.
Yeah. Is this fine?
I do like my dentist, but they are really chatty. They don't sing, but they like to chat. And they ask you a lot of questions while they're cleaning your teeth. I'm like, do you want me to stop you and answer? Or do you want me to just like, and like make a noise and let you just keep talking? Because these aren't yes and no questions. They're like, oh, how is your day? You got a busy afternoon? And I'm like, yeah.
I do like, there are some that when I've had longer procedures that are like bring earbuds and listen to a podcast.
Nice. Makes sense. That makes sense.
But I don't know if like that amplifies the dentist tool sound or not.
Ooh, having your ears plugged in might.
I don't want that sound loud, especially like the water scraping something. That's the worst. Anyway, so now that we've grossed you out about teeth, this is not a teeth episode or an eyeball episode. There's actually no gross body parts in this episode at all. This episode is, however, Painted Black. As I said, that is based off of, I would say it's not an annoying song. It's just, it's a song by the Rolling Stones. Then it goes meow, 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 is how it goes. And this was season 10, episode 16. It first aired March 25th, 2015, and was directed by John F. Showalter, and was written by one of our favorite writing teams, Buckner and Ross Lemming. Woohoo! So we're going to open up in Worcester, Mass. We're going to go into Worcester, Massachusetts.
Yeah. Going to church. So we have Terry finishing up his confession, and it leaves confession, and something we can tell, something, I don't know.
He's followed by a Vaseline lens.
Yes, something creepy.
Vaseline went on the lens of the camera is what happened, I think. And so he gets Vaselined, and then he takes a candle off a candlestick, goes outside the church.
And stabs himself aggressively with this candlestick. It's gross.
Yeah, I mean, those little prongs the spikes, like they're made to go into wax. Like I can't see them being like, I can pierce a chest bone.
I mean, yeah, because he's like slicing down with it.
Yeah, and then he like gorges it. Like I can't believe that thing didn't break off. Like where are they getting that shit made? I'd like to know. Vatican.
Italy. Apparently Italy.
Apparently Italy. So he aggressively does that, and then we end there, and we have our intro, and then we go to hell.
We go to hell. And a demon is begging Crowley to talk to his mom because she is still mad at him.
She is vexed.
And she is taking it out on the court. And he realizes that they're supposed to be punished in hell, but this is too much.
Too far. She has gone too far.
And he turns, and he now has two faces, one on the back of his head in addition to his regular face.
Which I think is useful.
Maybe. But so he calls for her, and she comes in clearly pretending to be all sad. But she's very complimentary of her own work and creating her two-faced demon, which is...
Yeah, she thinks her work is magnificent, and it is.
And he tells her that's enough. But she's like, I am devastated, betrayed, and brokenhearted. Because he will not go to the Grand Coven for her to let her practice magic for real again and have free reign. Because if she has free reign, she'd be fucking unstoppable.
Yeah, so the Grand Coven is the supreme command of all witchcraft, and they control whether or not it is sanctioned for her to practice magic. But as Crowley points out, though, it's like you're still practicing magic, right? So, like, what are they doing? So, what else could she do if she had the Grand Coven?
Mm-hmm. And she's like, this is nothing. I should just, and he's like, well, I'm just gonna send you back to the dungeon. And she's like, whatever, you're helping the Winchesters with the first fucking blade, but you won't help me. And he's like, what have you done for me? She's like, you wouldn't exist. Which is actually factually accurate. Yeah. I mean, she makes a very factual point. And then she breaks all the glass in the room and leaves. Because
she says a spell, abite, and that is from the Middle English abitin, from the Old English abitin. I don't know how those phonetic things work. And that means to bite in pieces, tear to pieces, bite, eat, devour, gnaw, taste, partake of, consume. All very good words.
Well, we cut to baby. And Dean is guessing, hey, this might be a curse. And Sam is very distracted looking at research about the mark still. And Dean's like, come on, we've got this case. There's these suicides. We've got this, these people that are like gutting themselves and slowly and painfully. So we need to go figure this out because they might not actually be suicide. Like, we got to find the link between them.
Why would 3 people who gutted themselves? Like, no, that's not a coincidence.
Not at all. Not
more than one person. One person gutting themselves is not a coincidence. That's something.
That's weird.
That's weird.
Yeah. So at the church, we see 2 nuns talking about a handsome young man. It's Sister Matthias and Isabella, for the sake of sanity, trying to talk about 2 nuns. And Isabella describes Piero, who was an artist. She was his muse and made her feel free, and she fucking loved him, and da-da-da-da-da.
You dumb bitch.
Yeah. And, Sister Matthias is like, oh, we're so much alike. We joined the convent for a higher purpose and to get away from things that made us sad.
Yeah, so the first nun is basically telling us the story of dumb girls of all time who fall in love with an artist dude who is like, baby, you're my muse. And she's like, you're the only boy I've ever loved. Yeah, we can have sex. And that's what happened. And the other nun's like, totally, I get it. So then we go from that to the police station.
Yeah. Where Sam and Dean are like, this is weird. These victims don't have anything in common, no known enemies, except for the fact they're Catholic. Oh yeah, that's something in common. That makes sense. Oh, but there's nothing hexy.
But Sam's like, it's Massachusetts. Like almost like 90% of people here are fucking Catholics.
Well, there's nothing hexy on any of the scenes, and demon possession doesn't really make sense because if they're going to possess a person, they kind of want that person to stay alive for at least a little while.
No, I disagree.
I do too. I thought that was a weird one.
Aren't there a lot of demons in dead meat suits?
I thought so.
I thought they died.
But wouldn't they stay in it then instead of...
I mean, they leave it. I mean, but I guess like they don't generally pop into dead people.
I don't know. That was a confusing thing, and it's a weird part of lore. And I'm glad you flagged that because I thought that was weird too. And so they get a call from the police, or they got the phone from the police. I'm sorry, my note was wrong. So I think they're called.
Dean
They have one of the victims' cell phones. So they are going to take it back to the FBI lab to hack it.
Does that mean Hacker Sam is going to crack the phone, or are they actually taking it to the FBI lab? Because that would be really funny if they went into like the FBI lab and like, can you crack this phone for us?
FBI be like, WTF? No, it's Hacker Sam.
Hacker Sam is going to be able to crack a phone. It's so great. And he thinks it's probably full of nude selfies. But Dean feels good about this.
Yeah, so back at the church, another man finishes his confession. He walks down, and one of his wife, one of the pews praying. He helps her put her coat on, and they are leaving holding hands. But something's following them. The Vaseline lens. Vaseline lens is at it again. And
it's just that filter is coming to get you.
And later that night, she catches him in the fridge. Going through a sandwich. He's going to fuck up the meal plan for the week because he's going to eat something that's in a recipe that she's been planning that she bought for that. And so she's fucking pissed. I'm just kidding.
I'm pretty sure he took out lunch meat and was making a sandwich. But yes, he's fucking the things. And he's telling her that work is what kept him through such late hours. But even looking at his face, he looks like a lying little shit. He just looks like he is a bad liar.
And she
a good actor, bad liar,
Yeah. And she calls him a liar, and she grabs her really nice sewing scissors and stabs him repeatedly.
Those are for fabric only.
I know. You don't use those for other things.
You don't use those for
I have
other
those
things, especially not for guts.
You're
going to ruin your scissors, lady.
And the blood, it's like, oh, you're going to have to like clean them really. It's going to be a whole thing.
I didn't even know you were going to get that out. You just ruined your scissors.
It's such a sad, sad thing. Well, she stabs him in the stomach repeatedly, and then this weird ghost thing leaves her body.
Ghost smoke.
Goes smoke out, and she realizes what she did, and she starts screaming for Frank.
Oh no!
That would be really fucking distressing, right?
Waking up after you stab somebody, that would be very distressing.
Yeah,
I would think so.
Okay, so Sam and Dean are going to go talk to
now that we are agreed on that topic.
Well, I mean, I know it's not like, whoa, that's a hot take. I know.
Whoa. If you were not
taking an aggressive stance here,
I think that the more if you are not going to be disturbed if you wake up after you stab somebody, you need to go seek help right now.
You do.
You need to go check yourself in somewhere.
I guess my point wasn't that it would. Like, obviously it'd be distressing, but I was just like, I was distressed watching it for this character.
Yeah. And she also went through the stomach, which was also like, that was harsh.
Yeah. So Sam and Dean are at the church talking to the priest, and he can't believe that Lisa would murder Frank. Lisa Frank.
See, I kept thinking, because it was Lisa McCarthy, and I kept thinking about Paul McCarthy, and but it was like her name is Linda, not Lisa.
Yeah, different one.
Yeah.
So we find out that she has no memory of this at all. And they're like, well, what was Frank's confession? And the priest's like, well, I can't divulge that. But I can confirm that all of the victims did do a confession.
Can confirm.
Can confirm. So Sister Matthias is introduced, and that's one of our nuns from earlier.
He is the director of social services. So, like, does she manage her Twitter account?
She's the one that organizes, like, the after mass luncheons.
She's responsible for bingo. I love you, Sister Matthias.
There you go.
Or Matthias. I don't like your name though. All right, so we've got Agent Allman and Agent Betts.
Of course we do. Oh my gosh. So Sam's gonna ask her about the deaths, and she's like, "Oh, I thought they were just suicides. What are you talking about?" And Dean's eye fucking her, so Sam's gonna go wander around and search the place while Dean asks her questions. But
she's also intrigued about the MO. Like, she gets excited about that. So I think our hot nun is a true crime junkie. So she's got that going for her.
That's true. And she's like agreeing, like Dean's asking her about all these victims, and like, well, Lisa and Frank seem to be devoted to each other. But the other victim had angry text messages between him and his girlfriend because he'd been fucking around on her.
So nuns know everything.
Well, because Sister has heard a rumor that she trusts that Frank was fucking around on Lisa. Made me sad. Anyways, while Sam's walking around doing EMF readings on prayer candles.
Of course those are haunted.
I know. I was like,
when you just go in there, like, no, those are clearly haunted.
Yeah.
Pretty sure, like, there's like 64 ghosts, one for each candle.
Yeah.
I think they represent a ghost. You think each candle's supposed to be a ghost?
Yeah. I was like, yeah, those are definitely, I'm like, I don't know why you're wasting your energy there, sir. Anyways, but yeah, so Dean's like, oh, how did you become a nun? After all, you know, choose this quiet life, something so different. And she's like, I didn't have a choice. Life was, my life was painful and hopeless. And this gave me a mission that was bigger than myself, which I think was interesting for Dean because that's kind of how he is coping with his challenges in his life. But Sam interrupts and he's like, so is there a cemetery around here? Oh, yes, of course the church is built on a burial ground. Duh. So we got prayer candles in a Catholic church built on a burial ground.
Yes, of course you have EMF.
Oh my gosh. And they start asking her if she's felt anything unusual, like you're not quite alone. And she makes jokes about ghosty stuff and says that she doesn't believe in ghosts. It's interesting.
She's lying.
She is lying.
I don't know why it's a lie. It's not very good. I don't know. You gotta go to confession now. So, then we're walking outside. Yeah, which apparently I wrote walking ousted. And I was like, what the fuck? Who was walking ousted? So they're walking outside. And Sam and Dean are talking. And Dean points out that there is a theme, or one of them points out there's a theme of women being done wrong.
Mm-hmm. So maybe, and somehow is this ghost tied to the confessional? And as they're walking away I noticed the sign outside this church says, he ain't heavy, he's my brother. The Hollies and Jesus.
Yes. This church is also across the street from where the hotel, the Sheraton, where the con was for a few years in Vancouver.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, I'm used in a few episodes. Yeah.
Nice. So we go back to hell, where Rowena has been summoned by Crowley because he's seen how and understands how stifled she must feel. So he's going to bring the coven to her. And he brings in the high priestess of the coven, Olivet.
Who Rowena calls an utter bitch.
Yeah. And she's like shaking mad. Like she's fucking pissed. Like she hates Olivet. Like really hates her. And Olivet calls Rowena a bottom feeder. But Olivet's the one in iron chains, so it doesn't matter. She can't really do shit. So Crowley leaves them alone to figure shit out because he's like, whatevs. Here you go. Unfuck your coven problem.
Well, just whatever's going to make you happy. Here you go.
Yeah. So Olivet just like leans in, starts calling Rowena names, which seems like not the best strategy when you're the one that's chained up in hell.
I don't think it's smart. And then we also find out that Olivet is an utter bitch because one of the main reasons that they were persecuting Rowena is because she fucked Crowley's dad, who was not a magician.
He was a muggle.
And so
then she was mad that he had a mudblood.
Yes. So we don't like that. But now Rowena is just like, look, first of all, my personal life was never any of your business, bitch. Like, stay the fuck out of my shit. Like, what the hell is wrong with this Kevin? Second of all, that little hell spawn is now the king of fucking hell and you're in his palace. Mm-hmm. Suck it.
Yeah. So there we go.
Yep. So after telling her to suck it, we go to church. And their hot nun is talking to sad nun, who is still talking about her shitbag fuckboy, Piero, and how deeply she fell in love with this asshole.
Because she was obsessed and how there was like so close of a different, connection between madness and devotion. I'm like, oh, this bitch crazy. Okay.
Yeah. Anyways. She has crazy ex-girlfriend eyes for most of this.
for real. And she was, the painting of her was his masterpiece in Florence, Italy in 1520. And she told him that she loved him. And in response, he hesitated a whole bunch and then called her just a friend.
He friend-zoned her. He friend-zoned her, and he could not love anything more than he loved his art. Then she goes into a deep depression, and her family couldn't take it anymore. They're just like, bitch, shut the fuck up about Piero. He's a goddamn painter. You should do better. Like, he keeps saying, like, he's just going to take all your money. No, you're not his muse. Just stop listening to him. Shut the fuck up about Piero. We're going to send you to a goddamn convent.
They sent her to the convent.
Yep.
In summary, she didn't shut the fuck up. She got sent to the convent.
Out
to the convent. Yeah. And everything from her father's estate and her journal have now been delivered to this church and Sister Matthias.
And it's pretty cool shit. I want to go through it all.
I know. Oh my God, what is this? An interesting collection. And why is the social person in charge of this? I don't know. But sure.
I don't know. This seems like very expensive shit. Like, probably stuff that should be in a museum. Probably not this church.
Yes.
That has clearly no temperature controls, no lighting controls. It's made of damp stone. But hey, here, take the 16th century artifacts. They're fine.
No curator of any kind. Just the
Renaissance painting. And
the
just
chick that organizes bingo is going to...
Twitter Becky is going to...
I tweeted about the bingo game. It's fine. Anyways, so Rowena in hell is now taken to physical violence against Olivet and slapping her. Olivet does call her overrated, which I think is funny. Anyways, and Rowena's calling Olivet envious, blah, 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 blah. But they go back and forth, and basically Olivet's stance is that Rowena, not only did she have like this kid that they thought was wrong, blah, 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 but she is too ambitious. She's blindly ambitious. She's, just not, she didn't make good choices. She always like was focused on herself.
Yeah, and this fucking Grand Coven was only interested in black cats and broomsticks, and she wanted greatness, so fuck them. But there's a problem that also the Grand Coven isn't shit anymore.
Yeah, because the fucking do-gooders in the Men of Letters plundered all of their shit.
Rabid group of sanctimonious do-gooders who drove their bust underground, then stole their secrets and shipped them to bunkers. Smug, self-righteous bastards, those Men of Letters. So we're going to talk about some other witches and Grand Covens. They've been holding on her for a while. So this is lore. And this is going to be one of those, hang on to your seats because there's a lot. And we're going to have to break this into two parts. And so I've been saving her. So we're going to talk about Rosaleen Norton, a.k.a. the Witch of King's Cross. All right. So we're going to Australia. Well, first we're going to take a stop. So Rosaleen Norton was born to a middle-class family in Dunedin. It was New Zealand. So she says during a thunderstorm at 4:30 a.m., October 2nd, 1917. Okay. She was youngest of three sisters, but her sisters were at least 10 years her senior. Her father was English, and her mother was from New Zealand. This is a new place. New Zealand is really funny. It's next to New Zealand. It's where all the really good comics go. So the family, though, moved from New Zealand to a wealthy Sydney suburb when she was 8. She described this period of her life as a generally wearisome period of senseless shibboleths, prying adults, detestable or depressing children who I was supposed to like, and parental reproaches. Oh. She avoided her family by sleeping in a tent in her garden where she had a number, you'll see why I identify with this lady, where she had a number of animal friends, including Horatius the spider, cats, lizards, tortoises, toads, dogs, and a goat. As this was in Australia, I am sure many of those could actually kill you.
Right.
Yeah. In 1952, it is said she assaulted a man who harmed a lizard. I was very fond of the lizard, and he lived in a stump. We used to have an understanding about everything. You could say there was an affinity. So this man hurt her lizard, and she assaulted him. I'm fine with that. I once defended a lizard from a snake. So, I mean, we all do things.
I mean, she was 35 years old then.
Yeah, I was like 42 when I was defending a lizard. So what? All right, so Rosaleen went to the Church of England girls' school in Chatswood, Sydney, until she was 14. She was showing immense artistic talent, but her subject matters of werewolves, blood-drinking vampires, and spirits rising out of cemeteries were labeled depraved and likely disturbed the other students. I think she was just a goth. So I very much
early goth.
Like, yeah, I mean, but also I just think how much of a badass bitch. Like, I love these like people who are goths in like the 30s and 40s. Like, how did you know about werewolves and vampires and like ghosts and shit? Right? Like, that's amazing. So after the girls' school, she took her portfolio to the East Sydney Technical College, where she kept exploring her pagan themes. We will discuss more of her artwork in the next episode, because that directly ties in with a lot of her court hearings. So the next episode, we'll talk about all the times she got arrested. We'll talk about one time this time, but only one time. All right, so she said she self-initiated into witchcraft when she took the oath of allegiance to the horned god when she was 13. If you are a witch, nobody has to teach you. In my case, it came naturally and nobody had to teach me. According to Rosaleen, the neophyte, after a period of probation, is asked questions, then assumes a ceremonial posture, one hand on the crown of the head, the other on the sole of the foot. To which I ask the question, are they standing?
That's a good question. I would assume so.
Those are two very different situations. If you have a hand on your head and your foot and you're sitting down, I'm doing that right now. If you see me on video, like, you'll see that. But like, you know, audio, you would just hear me. Yeah, hear me helping my mind. But if you're standing, that's like some lotus, like you're in tree, like that takes some balance and shit, right?
Yeah.
So during this initiation, they take an oath of allegiance to the coven's main deity. In Rosaleen's coven, that was generally Pan and Hecate. So when we say the horned god, it's generally Pan that she's referring to. A ritual to the 4 elemental powers before or after is also necessary. Then the initiate is given a new name and a piece of cord known as the witch's garter. Attire ranges from nakedness to robes, hoods, sandals, and accessories like ritual masks in the shapes of animals and birds, which I think are just fun. Different types of incense are used based on the rite. Sometimes herbs are infused and drunk. Rosaleen also confirmed in an interview that she did a protective magic circle around the ritual area she was working. So her tradition of witchcraft was said to be called the goat fold, which was a branch said to be brought to Australia by British convicts, tinged with some Welsh flavors. The first degree, called consigliere, is based off a Welsh word meaning wise woman or cunning man. So her coven used 5 working tools: the athame for air, the cup for water, the censer for fire, the pentacle for earth, and the cord for spirit. While her practice did have things in common with the Gardnerian practice, there are still many things that are different. And she we'll get into how she corresponds with the British witch Gerald Gardner during the 50s, but she was already doing witchy shit when she wrote to him. So they think that she wrote a lot of the rituals herself or got them some other places, right? There's also rituals involving wine and honey cakes. And I know on the show before we have talked about really gross cakes that involved menstrual blood, and you're not escaping that, but that's not going to happen today. That'll happen you get to look forward to that in the next week's show when we talk about sex magic, because she's from New Zealand. So I'm assuming when she said sex magic, she said sex magic. So during this time of most of her life, witchcraft was illegal. It was not made legal in New South Wales, where Sydney is, until 1969. Fortune-telling wouldn't be made legal until 1979. But those laws, as in most places where witchcraft hung around, were rarely enforced. Right. Instead, just like in England and the US, what they like to use was the Vagrancy Act. So they did a Vagrancy Act in 1929 because they had a whole bunch of crime in Australia. Shocking that there was a bunch of crime in Australia, but what was really cool is two of the crime leaders were ladies, and someday we'll talk about them. But so they would use the cops would use the Vagrancy Act to really kind of, harass the people, particularly of this neighborhood, King's Cross. And that becomes one of the main stomping grounds of Rosaleen. And she's known as Rowie to most of her friends. And people would come, when they would go to King's Cross, they would come looking for her. And some were lucky enough to be invited to her flat at 179 Brougham Street, where there was a placard on the door that stated, "Welcome to the house of ghosts, goblins, werewolves, vampires, witches, wizards, and poltergeists," which I'm amazed all those things can live together in one house. That seems like a lot of personalities.
Seems very chaotic.
Yeah, especially you add in the poltergeist, right?
Yeah, I don't trust them.
Yeah. When Rosaleen and her then lover, Gavin Greenless, first moved into this place, it was occupied by vagrants and bohemians. They first lived in a converted laundry basement with a bunch of cats and a sign there that said "The Female Vagrant." They eventually moved to the attic, which was at first occupied by a one-handed man named Mick. This man shares no importance with their story, as far as I can tell, but everyone includes that there was a one-handed man named Mick that lived in this attic. So I figured we have to know it.
Okay.
Yep. In 1955, the Australian journalist D.L. Thompson interviewed Rosaleen and two of her coven members. Neither were identified by their real names. One, a plump, dark, and middle-aged with a face like a successful dentist, was an electrical engineer. He put on a toad mask. The other, a taciturn, squarely built type, he put on a rat's mask. Rosaleen was wearing a cat mask with a hole in it to allow her to smoke while wearing it. She changed which I think is important for your mask. Then she changed into ritual clothing, which entailed a loosely hung, quote, witch's apron and a black shawl. Thompson described an altar with a man-sized picture painted by Miss Norton of a particularly toothy devil. To the left and right of Lucifer, 2 candles burned, while in front a spirit lamp added its quote of smoke to the generally murky atmosphere. Odd horns, devil's portions, and other black magic bric-a-brac stood around. Behind us, almost lost in gloom, was a deep easy chair, and beside it was a smaller altar with a seashell full of bat's blood, or something of the sort. Thompson also misidentified the god Pan as Lucifer. So the toothy grin devil was not Lucifer, but was the horned god Pan, who is the deity that she worships.
Why don't we use the term bric-a-brac more?
I don't know. We should bring it back. Bring back bric-a-brac.
Bring back bric-a-brac.
Can you say it?
No. Yep. Bring back bric-a-brac.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thompson asked Rosaleen how many people were in her coven, and she said 7. Toad told Thompson that theirs is not the only coven in Sydney. No, this is only one of half a dozen. As you see, we are quite well equipped, although perhaps a little restricted for space. There is one coven which I visit, which is much better equipped. However, this serves our purpose admirably, and we are all indebted to Miss Norton for accommodating and decorating it. So I think that's really interesting if this is true. This is the 1950s, and he's saying there are like a half a dozen covens in Australia. And that's pretty fucking awesome if that's true. So Rosalie also said during the interview, sorcerers or witches, the term applies to either sex, although males are generally known as warlocks, and the more advanced are wizards, are not confined to any age, class, professional, or social sphere. The youngest I have encountered, apart from myself, was a male of 17, the oldest witch of 65. As I said, this coven has 7 members. The oldest is 51 and the youngest 25. There are also several associate or honorary members of both sexes, and our last meeting was held in my own studio temple here. Other meeting places have included 2 North Shore suburbs and an eastern suburb, which is really also, I love thinking about that 1950s suburban coven party. I would like, hopefully someone has some home video of that. That would be fantastic. Please let us know if
I want to see the wardrobe for sure.
Yes, oh my gosh. And so in the summer, they would meet in outdoors, anywhere that was suitable. When asked again in 1962, she said there were roughly 300 people in her coven, and later claimed thousands in the King's Cross documentary, The Glittery Mile, but then said she exaggerated. It was only in the hundreds. In 1972, asked again, she said at least 200 followers in Sydney and hundreds more throughout the country. It is possible that she had started to think of herself as the head of all Australian witchcraft covens. During an interview with Robert Drew, published in 1971, she said, "Coven master of the Wicca branch of the witch cult." And she was now going to do ceremonies that would be held in her coven. That she said she presided over 4 major ritual meetings a year, and Candlemas was going to be the next ceremony that would be held in her coven. She said, "We feast, dance, and drink. The sexual side of things is very important. We invoke deities and spirits and set to work to formulate whatever we mutually want through spells, and also things that we want for ourselves. Black magic is a very personal thing. It is an integral part of our lives. I took care of 2 policemen who were foolish enough to tangle with me. One was soon afterwards forced to resign from the police force, and the other, a detective sergeant, soon found himself pounding the beat again." Yes. In 1967, she was filmed for the television show 7 Days, wearing a goat's head mask while casting a spell. During this, she was interviewed in her home by 2 journalists, among all the paraphernalia, they could have said Rickenback, of witchcraft, including an altar, and was attended by her pet cat, some salamanders, and a rat named Percy, whom Norton said she was training to become a familiar. Rosaleen told her interview when she was engaged in mostly was hexing various people by request. During the casting of the spell, Miss Norton wore a goat's head mask and rang bells, poured water, and burnt incense, all the time chanting to summon the forces of the earth god. After it was all over, it took about 3.5 minutes. We asked Miss Norton what spell she had cast. She had told us she cast a spell to assure the production success. The next day, our camera broke down. So that is Rosaleen's story for now. I'm going to leave you on your edge wondering about the sex magic and all of the many wonderful times that she went to court.
All right.
Good times.
Wild.
Good covens.
Wild.
Sex magic.
Yeah, that's crazy. All right.
I know like Australia isn't like the middle of nowhere, but it's just kind of like knowing what I know, but thinking about the fact that during that time, like in Los Angeles, there was a bunch of people practicing witchcraft, and like in England, there was a bunch of people practicing witchcraft or like experimenting with it. And the same thing was happening in Australia. And like, this is like the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s.
It's a little more, I mean, it was a slightly more isolated from the rest of the world.
Well, yeah, but slightly. But the fact that this was just stuff that was going on everywhere, and we don't really, like, we think about that being such an uptight, at least I think traditionally I would, and I wouldn't think about like magic and like witchcraft like from a societal thing. Like I would think would become more accepted in the 60s, right? Like
right. Not as much the 50s, more 60s.
Not that it was like so much earlier than that, which I just think is really interesting.
It is.
And I want a cat's mouse where I can smoke a cigarette.
I know, right? So we cut back to the church where Dean is now doing his confession. And he is giving a kind of true, kind of false story about basically
don't know if this is false or not. Like, I know. I very much believe there was probably a woman named Gina who fed him lasagna. True.
Yeah, I mean, and they had really good sex.
Yeah,
it was all about the sex and lasagna, and he did her wrong. He led her to believe there was more to go, more future than there was, and he was seeing multiple girls in the same day. So. Yeah, and the priest tells him that he should do 5 Hail Marys and 2 Our Fathers and reflect and do some inner exploration about this. It's not just about doing the prayers, it's about your soul searching. And then Dean's like, so before I leave, what if I told you that I didn't want to die yet? I'm just not ready. And the priest is like, are you expecting to? And Dean's response is always. And
it's the only thing that's inevitable.
Yeah, I mean that's true. So
I'm always expecting to die. That is one thing I can guarantee.
It will happen eventually.
Yep. But this is in his more like philosophical way, and that maybe he wants to go deeper than Gina, So he really wants to get into that lasagna.
He does, with his feelings. But that he's talking about that, he's experiencing things differently, and maybe there's just more to it all. And the priest suggests that realize that the universe is bigger than just you can be a bit scary, but that believing in God can be a comfort, and asks if Dean believes in God. And Dean's like, yeah, I believe God exists. I'm just unsure that he believes in us.
Well, and technically, Dean believes in a lot of gods. Dean has killed a few gods, right? So I always feel like this is like, especially in supernatural mythology, it becomes like so having the like an actual physical like Judeo-Christian god in a literal sense, right? When you have like Odin and you have Turtle Dude, all these other things, right? And so I think that makes this question even weirder.
It is. It is a little weird for this series and it's
I think it makes it just kind of an interesting mythological right within the show. So so that's where we go from that, and then we get some ghost smoke.
Yeah, because Dean's leaving to go meet up with Sam, and they are really hoping that this ghost is gonna come after him because Dean's a jerk. So and Sister Matthias is watching this. And she's going to go look for Isabella because now it's dawning on her that maybe there's something weird going on, but she can't find her. Then we see our priest leave the confessional, and we see our
filter has got him.
Our filter's got him. The Vaseline filter got him, goes into or through the priest. And go back to Sister Matthias has decided to start reading Isabella's journal.
And she can read Renaissance Italian.
Yeah. Very impressive.
I think so.
For a social calendar coordinator.
Right?
I'm kidding. So she is reading about how her love for Piero has now turned into hatred. And she sneaks into his studio from the convent, and she is going to just ruin the painting. That was her plan. She just really wanted to ruin the painting of her, but she hears him fucking and takes a dagger.
It's a blonde too. Not only is it like he in love with art, his art is blonde.
Of course it is. And she's gonna stab the shit out of him.
I think, or maybe both of them.
So Sister Matthias is like, okay, Sam and Dean, BT dub. I come across a lot of sad, harmless, and restless spirits. I just didn't mention it before because I don't know. But by the way, Isabella is a ghost, and I think she's the one doing this shit, and she might not be so harmless after all. So I'm a spiritual person, so obviously I accept that there's multiple planes, but yeah. Usually they just go find rest at some point, but apparently that's not what's happening. And we had a lot in common, so I don't know. Showed up 3 weeks ago when all this shit showed up from Tivoli. And her family just donated it all to the church. But and Isabella arrived kind of right before all these deaths started. And
what a weird coincidence.
And I didn't put two and two together until, she overheard Sam and Dean talking. But the journal ends after her trial and may have become a vengeful spirit.
Well, and most importantly, too, importantly, she was convicted of witchcraft and burned at the stake.
Yes. And so her body wouldn't be in Florence either at this point. So now is she tied to the journal or is she tied to something else? So Dean's like, burn the journal and all the shit from her family, Sam. Burn it.
No! Put this shit in a museum, you motherfuckers! Please do not burn the Renaissance art! Stop it! Stop! I don't care what the book is. Stop burning it. Stop setting shit on fire.
No, you don't want them to burn the Italian artifacts from the.
Please don't burn the precious Italian artifacts that tell us how to finally turn gold out of lead. I know it's in there somewhere.
So they're alchemy now.
That's what I'm pretty sure was in every single thing that was collected for the Renaissance. Was some motherfucker trying to turn things into gold.
It was.
Or trying to make people virgins. So we go from that hellhole to hell.
Yes, where Rowena is still slapping Olivet.
Still beating the shit out of Olivet.
And Olivet's like, look, I don't fucking know anything else. And she's like, Rowena's like, no, you're holding on to this info just to keep me down. And Olivet's like, and then you let the men of letters plunder the coven.
Yeah, because Olivet is like what we like you say. She's not done talking shit. She never stops talking shit about Rowena, and she's really being like, "You're self-centered and you're this thirst for power." But I think Rowena is right. It's like you let these men take all your fucking powerful spells, and then you didn't do anything about it. Like,
I don't know.
What kind of witches are you?
I wouldn't want Rowena to have power either. She seems very unhinged.
Well, beyond the Rowena thing, but like the point of like the Grand Coven, like just let these fucking like I saw those men of letters. They look like fucking insurance salesmen.
Yeah,
I wouldn't let
like,
insurance salesmen take my fucking power. Like, no, that's how the patriarchy wins. You don't let the insurance people take your power. No, ladies, you fight back.
Well, I mean, she has a point about them taking this stuff, but it was like, I don't know. I'm like, hey, you probably should have hit it from Rowena. She seems to look a little out there.
Just because she's a little off doesn't mean look. Sometimes I don't know what you think.
I don't need her to have that much power. It's scary. But either way, so Olivet does say, like, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, all this shit was dispersed. It's not in like one location I can give you. And by the way, the men of letters ended in the US in the 50s, except for the last 17 Winchester.
Motherfucking Winchesters. And Rowena is just like, I'm gonna kill myself. Like, I can't believe these fucking Winchesters again. What the fuck? Who the fuck are these dudes?
But then Rowena snaps and she's like, well, if the coven's not powerful anymore, then Olivet's not useful anymore. So there we go. And Olivet's trying to like plead for her life now. She's like, whoa, hold on. Murder's not really acceptable in our community.
Which murder? Murder is fine. Well, not which on which.
Which on which, yes. And Rowena's like, yeah, no, I lived in fear for years for nothing.
And fuck your community.
You ruined my life. And you're going to pay with yours. So
I have a bowl. It's got stuff in it.
She's got a bowl of stuff.
I've got some bric-a-brac. And with my bric-a-brac, I'm going to tell you, Cruciatus, something Crucianti, which
it's sounds... It's a Cruciatus spell.
It is, which in Latin means torture and death, agonize.
Yeah, but she stops.
And she's seizing and she's bleeding from her eyes.
Her mouth, and it's gross. But then she realizes, wait, this is too easy to just like kill you this way. So I'm going to change the spell, and we hear the chains fall.
So she changes her spell to Fatum, Tuum, Est, Itersini, Termino, and Nullum. Nullum. I just wanted to say that word a few times. Nullum. And that roughly translates to thy fate will be to go on without end. And it is called the fate manipulation spell. So we hear chains fall. We know Rowena has turned her to something, but we don't know what it is. We're left on edge to go back to the confused nun.
Yeah. And
what do you mean you can shoot? Why do you have a gun? It's a ghost. I don't understand.
Yeah, very confused. But while her and Dean are walking around with the CMF reader, Sam was reading
reading 16th century Italian very well.
Because he does he does rightfully think they probably should read the fucking journal before they burn it. Just in case.
I don't know, like, should you read books before you burn them?
So he finds out that Piero was so certain that she was his muse that he wanted some of her blood to mix into his paint. Yeah. But she's like, oh no, that blood, that's nothing. Watch this. And she cuts off her fingertip so that he can have her flesh, blood, and bone to grind into her blood. But you went too far. You went too far. Too far. Too far, ma'am. Reel it in.
That's okay. So we're gonna, but then also the fucker did it. Like, he took it and like he ground it. He painted with this.
Yes, but reading
and also
this.
it's like texturally, like it doesn't like lead. Like
Does it
how
dry
hard
right?
do you have to? Like it seems like there's a lot of pounding that has to go on. Like I don't know. I have
So much pounding.
Yeah, I
Piero
have.
did a lot of pounding.
Piero pounded a lot, and I am assuming that it takes a lot to grind a Piero down. But yeah. Okay, so Sam is like, oh, it's a painting. Oh shit, here are these crates.
Yeah. Now, because now, in addition to all of these other artifacts that are in the fireplace, now he gets to go through
You
these
also
stack
have
of
Piero's
paintings.
artwork.
Yes.
Piero's artwork has gone to this nun's family.
Yeah, that seems fucked up, right?
Maybe they were the patron.
Oh my gosh. Either way. Well,
so she was funding him and fucking him, probably.
Probably.
It was 16th century Florence.
Well, either way, he's going to go through these. Well, Dean finds their priest buddy dead. He has gutted himself and tries to pull Sister Matthias away, but now she's been possessed too, because he's like, oh shit, the ghost's around, it's going to possess one of us next, but it gets her too fast, and she's got her super ghost power to throw Dean around now. She backhands him across the room.
Backhands him across the room, and she does super fast ghost things, and she's got a knife.
Yeah, but luckily right then, Sam manages to find the crate from Tivoli. And as Sister Matthias, possessed by Isabella, is choking Dean out and attempting to stab him, she's explaining that the priest had to die for forgiving people. And this...
He made it his business to forgive the unforgivable.
Yeah. I don't know. And... right then, luckily, Sam gets the painting and puts it in the fire, and Isabella comes out of Sister Matthias right in time, of course.
Well, Dean is yelling at him to burn the journal. And so, yeah, when she comes out, the hot nun has like a seizure. Yeah. Don't burn me. No.
Well, back in hell, Rowena now has a new pet.
She has an adorable little hamster. On
a hamster wheel, wearing a cute little necklace. That happens to match the one that Olivet was wearing.
I'm glad that the necklace shrank.
I am too. So cute. And she tells Crowley that they made her run around in circles, so turnabout fair play here, and that's what she's doing back. But now, she wants something else.
And you won't believe what Olivet said about you before I did this to her, so you should be thankful.
Oh yeah. But, by the way, Winchesters are men of letters, and he's like, Winchesters are my business, and you're not killing them.
And she's like, sure, whatever you say, bye. Look over there.
So Sam and Dean leave, and they're driving back to the bunker, I assume. And Dean is like, who mixes blood and bones into the paint? And he's like, I don't think anyone would do that for me.
Yeah, no chick's ever cut off part of her finger for me.
And they agree loosely that it was good that Sam didn't just burn the journal as Dean instructed. But then Sam asks, he's like, Dean, you had a pretty long confession. You know that you can like talk to me if there's like stuff you want to talk about. It's I'm here too. I'm your brother. We can talk if you need to. It's fine. So he's like, he's also still not convinced that the mark of Cain is terminal. They will find a way, and it's because that's what we do. We find a way. And Dean just says, okay, Sammy, kind of dismissive. And so Sam does, try again like you mean it. He says, okay.
So he half-assed says it, and then Baby drives off into the night. And that is how we end.
Yeah. So, we've got a few folks in this episode.
Do you know who played the hamster?
I don't know who played the hamster. Sorry to disappoint.
Casting couch. It's the casting couch. Were they on that show that time with that guy? La 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 la.
Our Father Delaney was played by Steve Curtis, and interestingly, he only has one credit other than this. Well, one character credit, and that was playing Keith in Zombie Night 1 and 2. Isabella was played by Catherine Michaud, and she, a lot of her credits are actually from being in casting. So she's done casting on 14 episodes of Supernatural, 12 episodes of Nancy Drew, 13 episodes of The Magicians. Kind of interesting. And then she was a production assistant on a couple episodes of Riverdale. And she is an actress in an episode of Once Upon a Time in Wonderland. But Sister Matthias was played by Rachel Keller. She was Simone on Fargo as a reoccurring character. Cassandra in The Society as a reoccurring character. Sid in Legion as a reoccurring character. And Samantha in Tokyo Vice as a reoccurring character. Olivette has quite the credits. She was played by Terrell Rothery. Name's cool. T-E-R-Y-L. That's a cool name. Anyways, she's actually started out doing a ton of anime voice work in the 80s and continued doing voice work for other cartoons into the 2000s. But she's been in episodes of X-Files, Dead Like Me, Smallville, iZombie, Wayward Pines, Bates Motel, and many more. She was the Philly AM host in Best in Show, one of my favorite movies. She was Dr. Janet Fraser Hemdahl in Stargate SG-1. I was like over 70 episodes of that show. Julia in the movie White Noise 2. Lane in Hellcats is a reoccurring character. Patricia in Travelers is a reoccurring character. Jean in Arrow is a reoccurring character. Celia in Nancy Drew as a reoccurring character. And most recently, the reoccurring roles in both The Good Doctor as Dr. Jen Lancaster and Muriel in Virgin River. She's also done a ton of Hallmark. So kind of cool. Our Two-Faced Demon was played by Bruce Green. He was in a few episodes of Mad TV, one of the best sketch comedy shows ever, in my opinion. And also an episode of Parks and Rec. Frank McCarthy was played by Steve Elliott. He had, was in High Spirits and then in episodes of Painkiller, Jane, Fringe, and Once Upon a Time. Piero's lover, Rachel Sheen, was played by Rachel Sheen. She was the strip club worker in Deadpool. And Lisa McCarthy was played by Kelly Ann Woods. She's been in episodes of Fringe, and iZombie, Supergirl, Nancy Drew, and Creepshow, the new series.
Cool.
There we go.
No hamster.
No hamster. I'm sorry to disappoint.
Someday you'll get yours, hamster.
Uncredited.
Maybe in the next episode, the hamster will get a credit. We'll see. We'll keep hoping your turn to shine.
Bring my flowers. Anyway, so yeah. What you got?
I mean, I love Rowena. I think, Rowena's bit throughout this is just hilarious.
I don't know. She's a lot. I haven't decided if I think I'm trying to decide if she's so unlikable that it bothers me. Like, so she's such, like, I don't know, that there's a problem for me with her. But I usually really liked Catholic mysticism. This just wasn't my favorite episode. I don't know why it didn't sit right with me for some reason.
I also don't feel like there was Catholic mysticism in here.
No, I think it was that. That's true. It was straight up just a fucking vengeful spirit. It happened to be in a church. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, and confession was confession. Like, there wasn't anything like spooky about it.
Right.
The prayer candles. Like, it was just the
happened to be in a church. You're right. That's why.
Church.
That's probably why. Because it's like, I mean, not.
We didn't really like go into why they were nuns or any of like that stuff.
Correct. Yeah, we got one small conversation about them finding purpose, and that was about it, or escaping life, or whatever, and that was about it. I don't know why. It's like I know these are writers that we've enjoyed before. I just don't know why this episode didn't hit the spot for me. So there we go. That's my opinion. So there was some good there were some great parts, some great comments, some great lines, always like cool tidbits. It just wasn't my favorite.
Yeah.
They can't all be.
Dumb bitch. I mean, I know Piero got his own, but I wish the fuckboy had gotten it more, right? Like, I know the stabbing is one thing, but I wish it had been like more like an ironic death or like something that was but
also, is it his fault that she was an idiot?
I don't know. He's you know, he's
She
an
never
artsy,
said that she
he's an
cared about
artsy.
him. He was honest.
I know,
He friend zoned her.
But
And she
you
was
know
picky.
how those fuckboy artists are.
I know,
Like,
but also, like,
she was a virgin, and you know, like I'm saying she's not crazy ex-girlfriend. She is. So she had crazy eyes, but at the same time, Piero is not at fault.
No, but also, like she was that cuckoo about him to, like, make a bunch of people kill themselves?
I mean, he's cuckoo enough to be like, mix your blood in my paint.
That's gross. You're right. They're both fucked.
Yeah. That's what I said. I think Piero had it coming.
So gross.
But let's say I don't want him to be stabbed. I want him to be like a more ironic, just dessert death. Like turn him into an Italian hamster.
Choke on paint.
Become a paintbrush.
Oh my gosh. There you go.
You're a dirty paintbrush and you can never be cleaned.
Ew.
What a horrible punishment. All right. And you're like a Disney paintbrush too, because you can talk.
Oh. You're going to let him talk now. He don't get to talk.
Only Italian.
Oh. No one can understand him. Oh my gosh.
All right. On that note, cheers, jerk.
Cheers, bitch.
Devil's Trap Podcast is a Don't Get It production. Meow.
Devil's Trap Podcast is part of the Ship It Studios Podcast Network. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at Devil's Trap Podcast, Twitter at Devil's Trap Pod, or you can email us at devilstrap@devilstrappodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe, leave reviews, and share with all your friends. We're at all your favorite podcast outlets and at devilstrappodcast.com. I'm Babe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.